Oh boy, I hear an enemy and I got robbed. I really got robbed. Oh man, I want my money back for the shell, please. Please give me back my shell. Come on. Not that way. Hello there, and welcome back to some old school Soviet heavy tank gameplay in the Object 248. And I had quite a lot of fun doing this right here, the reverse angling. Why and how that works I'll come to in just a moment. Let's first talk about the tank, shall we? So this is a 6.3 Soviet heavy premium tank that is the current reward for the ongoing Battle Pass season field testing. And it fits very well into the 6.3 lineup as far as capabilities go. So it's essentially an IS-1 that has a 100mm S34 cannon with 30 rounds of ammunition instead of an 85mm gun. And that is, in my opinion, a significant improvement, not a side grade, to a 122mm that you find on IS-2 variants. The disadvantage is that you still have this old hull, and that means that your front is even more vulnerable than of an IS-2 Mod 1944 hull. There are quite a lot of IS-2s in the game, and especially in the Soviet tech tree. We have the IS-2 Mod 1944 and the premium variant, the IS-2 Revenge. Then we also have the IS-2 that has the said old hull, and the IS-2 number 321, which is rather rare. And yeah, you can also put into the lineup the T-44 122 that has basically is an T-44 with a 122mm gun that also doesn't really work all that well compared to the T-44 100. And in the same lineup you also can find the ASU-85 and the 2S3M 152mm derp howitzer. The ASU-85 has the very best gun performance, also the very best ammunition, not just the best APHE, but also the best reload and also heat FS. But it's a thinly protected tank destroyer with a casemate mounted gun. So as far as turrets go, this is probably the best heavy tank, or the best tank at 6.3 for the Soviets. So let's talk about the gun handling before we come to the ammunition. And here we have a few things that are a bit problematic, but not un-Soviet style in that aspect. You have only 3 degrees of gun depression and 18 degrees of gun elevation. Especially the 3 degrees of gun depression are on hilly terrain really painful. In a city fight, not so much of a problem, and therefore you do not really buy yourself a disadvantage with the before mentioned reverse angling. And as far as the turret rotation goes, now that also isn't really all that great, because it's only 14 degrees per second for a fully trained ace crew, gun elevation 5 degrees per second, and the reload, this is with 8.5 seconds for a fully trained ace crew, significantly better than the 122mm, and not so much of a difference to an 85mm gun. And you have enough penetration with the APHE BC round, that is the BR 412B. It's your only armor piercing round, going at nearly 900 meters per second, having a 100 grams TNT equivalent bursting charge, and can pen 218 millimeters at point blank range, and also has some funny gadget style mechanic versus angled armor, especially rather thin one. As the high explosive shell, you have the OA 412, which has only 19 millimeters of penetration from the 1.46 kilogram TNT warhead, but it goes relatively quick at 900 meters per second dead. And yeah, you have 37 millimeters of penetration from the OA 471 that is issued to the 122 millimeter guns, and you have only 205 millimeters of penetration with the BR 471 and also the B variant. So you have more penetration, a faster reload, but the gun handling is still trash. And then we come to the mobility. You have a 520 horsepower strong engine for a 46.5 ton tank. That is not all that great. Your top speed is limited to 35 kilometers per hour forwards, and again, something that plays into the reverse angling is the reverse gear, which is a rather quick 13.5 in reverse. So that might catch some people unaware. Then the armor. Well, as I said, it's basically an IS-1 that has, instead of the 85mm, 100mm gun, and you share the hull. The lower hull is a big target and rather thin with an effective thickness of 115mm. The area around the driver's hatch is only 140mm at best. And this is how we come to the rear of the tank, which is basically an inverse Tiger II with thinner armor, or a Panther in that aspect, because the rear plating is angled at around 50 degrees, so is the lower glacis at 45 degrees, and both are 60mm thick. The side armor is 90mm, and so when you angle it perfectly, like you would with a Tiger, you can reach somewhere between 130 and 140mm of effective armor. Even if the 60mm of plating on the rear of the tank gets pent, the transmission and the engine will absorb the incoming shell, as long as it is not a really high performing solid shot. So hash, heat and APHE get completely absorbed, and yes, it will set you on fire, but you most likely will not lose crew. You can then return fire, disable or kill your aggressor, and then just simply repair the engine while still having good armor protection. And I think this works especially at around this battle rating when you face Germans that have never encountered this tactic, as you could see with the previous match, where it showed really how well it can work. Doesn't really work always, of course, when somebody is shooting your cupola or your turret, because that is at its thickest 100mm stick, although it is well rounded, but you shouldn't rely on this. So, as you can see, that was perfect, hitting the machine gun port of a Jagdpanther. And this is then where I have to really go into the downsides of the tank. In an up tier, this tank is just not fast enough, the gun handling is not good enough, and the firepower of the shell, just, you don't have the penetration power. And more and more stuff is coming around with Heat FS, as I said before, or Hash, or whatever, even APDS. It's not really that enjoyable. But when you have a down tier, or if you have oblivious enemies, it's fantastic. I like it. I actually had fun, which at higher tiers I miss quite a bit. So this is a little bit of a flashback for me to the old times with a tank that it's basically the reload that is different, and that's enough to make it good, or at least decent. It's not a very good tank. Many people will dislike it, I guess, because modern players are all about performance and not the old days, which they probably never have. God, I'm feeling old saying this. Yeah, playing since 2013 has certainly done some damage. But all things aside, I like it. Is it something that you should put in your lineup? To be honest, the RP that I've gotten, at least when I did it in a test drive, were not overwhelming. Yes, it's a premium tank. Yes, it's fully upgraded. But it's up to you. Are you a collector? Are you a Soviet main at around this battle rating? Keep it. But other than this, I honestly think about making a few Gaijin coins. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, why not give it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more. For you, it's just a couple of clicks. For me, it means the world. And as usual, we will see each other on the waves in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.